What would you, how would you put the difference between convergence and wave? Because I mean, we're going to be flying the lighter winds generally with you, and you know, it generally doesn't look like the diagram when you're out there. So, what would be the sort of main differences between the two you find sort of unexpected?
The valleys funnel the wind, and there are areas of convergence. And sometimes you can get a mixture of this thing where I say that you get the constructive interference between the upper wave and the lower wave here. You could also get a convergence there, and maybe some of what happens low down that gets you up into the wave there is convergence as well as wave, because the wind funnels down this way. Funnels along here because of these ridges here. So it turns westerly here and then it hits some as soon as there's that gap there and tends to go up here. Now that can be quite noticeable. We've got that open cast area there, and that's one of a key sort of thermal place to go and search around nowadays, because you've got that open cast, you've got convergence going on. And because the wind's, that northwesterly wind has been funneled westward, you get it coming out here as well, and you get one here, where the wind comes through there and hits funneled westerly there, and near that sewage works on the side at Bamford, I've often found that. And often I've crept up out of the valley over the sewage works on Sky out there. Also, I remember getting up there when the sky was brilliant up here and all blue down here, and we got up a bit, and I just followed one over here, and then I made an all or nothing glide onto the corner there and got up. Those convergences in an easterly, a southeasterly, you get a convergence here. The south comes here in the lee of Bramwell. It's the funnel easterly here, which is more due east, so you get a convergence there. And people often are climbing and flying around here quite high in an east wind when they're taking a southeast wind off Lampsall, and you're thinking they're in wave there, but it's not going anywhere else. There's nothing happening anywhere else except there, because it's really convergence. But there is a blurred line between wave and convergence. There's a place called Topkapi or somewhere where they fly a wave, which is a convergency rolly thing with sailplanes. That are sailplane, but it's famous for this. It mixes out of two valleys and it forms a sort of swirling helix, and they ride that one, and it's nearly always there with this. The Topkapi roll or something they call it. I've read about somewhere.
Any tips when it's a bit out of phase, a bit broken? I mean, I seem to find sort of weak wave quite a bit when it flows a bit more land. One angle, you sort of push forward and push out a bit and feel like you're connected with something, and it's all going great for a little bit.
Well, it's seldom actually parallel to the ridge. This was actually quite windy. Kathleen didn't fly and I flew over it. And we were landing vertically actually. This is the only time I've been in wave at the moment. It's actually quite common. We all got above the cloud, and it gradually went blue. But the wind is what, 13 miles long or something? And if the difference between one end of the wind and the other end of the wind has got to be quite a good proportion of a wavelength. The wave is not going to be parallel to the wind. It's going to be skewed off slightly. So somewhere along there it should be in phase. And it's just figuring out which way to go when it's not in phase where to take off. But because it's the wind, people out there put their wind hat on and they fly at the takeoff. got 13 miles of resupply. Because they just all congregate around, take off and complain it's crowded. And that is what those non-wind club do, you know. So spread out along the wind and you'll find it somewhere.
The problem is when it's really spread out, you go through really snotty bits because it's over corned and stuff. It sort of mixes it up a little bit. It's not what you'd call a nice smooth straight line most of the time. You seem to find bits, and you know it works great for a short period, and then you either sort of lose
Well,
it.
again, it suffers a bit from the gravel effect. Is the wave isn't coming from somewhere 3 miles away. It's coming from much further upwind, so it's going to move around a lot more because it's doing several wavelengths, and so the differences are adding up, multiplying 2 or 3, 4 times. The change is happening at the minute. And this day, it just seemed to, admittedly, it was far too windy for the paragliders, but there were some people flying on speed limits, but their sink rate was just so deplorable with no chance of getting in. But everyone was on the hang gliders was able to get in because we just put them down until we found the good bit. And we all got above the cloud and didn't get really the best shots really, but it was just another one of those days, you know. We actually went to the Min because we knew it would be blown out of Bradwell in the way that paragliders do. You know. I don't tend to do that driving, I just fly when it's flying with ear. I don't chase the weather around. Kathleen was keen on this particular weekend because she hadn't flown for a bit. We went down there for her to fly and she didn't end up flying.
Did she come and get you? Did she have to come and get you?
No, I was landing back. So I landed hoping that she could fly, but I landed vertically, you know, with the last and people running around underneath me trying to catch me. Right, so the thing to watch for is when you climb up in that thermal, and it always seems to be getting better on the upwind edge, is often they do just do that because there's a bit of thermals don't move with the wind, they have a bit of ridge lift on the front, and you kid yourself that it's always better on the front than you just fall out. But if it does keep building on the front edge as you go, and it keeps repeating itself and having another lump on the upwind edge and another lump on the upwind edge, it may actually turn into wave. And often you can't see it in the sky and from the ground, but when you get up there and get to base and come out the upwind side underneath the cloud, you can carry on going up. And it can be invisible somehow from below, but once you get above you can see it all lined up and you think, well, why didn't I see that from below? It's misleading. Also, watch out for it wherever you go, because it's really common in Oranje and St Andre. I've had it in the flatlands in Hay, I've had it in the valleys at Bright in Australia as well. I remember coming back from the observatory, if you know where that is, the Dictabur at Oranje, and I've crossed onto that tree hill with a cross on the top. I had a group of pilots with me, we climbed there and we got to 8,000 foot, 8,500 foot above the campsite, and the numbers said we could all drive back, and I said, right, we can drive back from here, and they all set off, and I just hit the lift on the south side of the cloud in this light southerly and started going up. And the numbers on the instruments have said I've got the campsite with 2 grand to spare. Started to climb above the cloud. And I think I got to 14,500 feet above the campsite. Campsite's a couple of thousand feet. Pretty high and pretty freezing. I was dressed for 8,000 foot. And there I am, 14,000 foot. And no camera, of course. That's the first thing. To get in the wave, take the cameras off. You're never going to get them. switch the barograph off, don't have any flight recording, and you're bound to get in. And I could see the Mediterranean, I could see Italy from up there. It was just absolutely unbelievable, and I was shaking with cold. And the only way to get down was to fly fast. So then I had wind chill as well. So then it got really cold. But the instruments said I had it was had the 2 grand margin to get to the campsite when I started the climb. When I was at 14.5 grand, it said I was 4 grand too low to get there because of the wind. Which of course wasn't true, because as I came down I could get more penetration, but the wind increased above the cloud was so much that I was parked there, pulled in slightly. What I actually came over the campsite at about 10,000, and I've done it a few times where you land, take off all your gear and lie in the sun, try and warm up like a lizard. So cold. The other one I had was over Scarborough in the north. High up it was northwest, and I got wave. We had a task to go to Beamerson, so we did a few turn points and then landed. It was near Moose J, the goal. There's a gliding club there where the goal was. And inside the start circle, we climbed to cloud base. Time for the start happened, they all set off, and I was just, oh hang on, I'm going up. And we had start increments. So a couple of start increments later, so they all set off. I waited 15 minutes, climbed an extra 4,000 or 5,000 feet, and started from there. And I glided in above them at the first turn point, and there were little tiny specks. And I just needed one climb to get over the goal line, and I was there. I started 20 minutes behind them, got there 15 minutes ahead of them, something like that. Just a fantastic flight. Over the old days when I used to get the look.